Hi everybody, Wayne Davies of Spectrum Economics here, and as you can see I'm back in the old garage. Yeah, that's right, I've been doing a few videos from my office. That works pretty well for some things if I'm going to be at the computer typing out, but today I've got a bit more standing room here in the garage, so I've come back here and this is where I've done most of my videos before. So this is going to be more the old lecture type of sort of video type of presentation. More so than some of the other stuff where I'm demonstrating stuff on my computer, you know, I'm doing website stuff and things like that. Anyway, so on to today's topic. So I'm going to be talking about market structure. So if you've been following my posts on Steemit, you would have seen I've done, I think, seven written posts about market structure. But what I normally like to do is have the written posts and I want to follow up with the videos. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm starting the first of this series using videos because I know different people like to take in information in different ways. So I think video just gives you that extra option and it just, you know, gives the content just that little bit more exposure. So anyway, so I'm going to be doing market structure. It should be 7 videos as well, 7 videos to match the 7 posts, the written posts. Wow, sorry, I'm a bit distracted. I'm looking at my video camera. I can see the square over my face. I think it's trying to recognize me as a person. Anyway, so let's get back onto that. So I'm going to start off like I did with the post, a brief introduction to market structure and the different market structures I'm going to be covering in this series. So I'm going to be covering, I think, my fingers because I'm holding six market structures. This is going to be fun. Okay, so these 6 market structures are going to be perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, monopoly, monopsony, and oligopsony. So you go, you've got those 6 there. I've written posts about them, so there's a bit of detail on that. I've got the links here in the video. You can go down and click on those if you want to read about it. If you want to know more about it, you know, from me talking rather than you trying to take it in through writing, that's another way, and that's why I'm doing these videos now. So okay, so let's just kick off with perfect competition. So if you've been studying economics in high school, university, one or the other, you would probably come across the term perfect competition. It's the most common example of market structure that's used in theory anyway. In reality, actually, there's almost no perfect competition. It's pretty much non-existent. So what do I mean by perfect competition? This is a situation where you have homogeneous goods, so all the goods are exactly identical across all the firms within that market. So you take, for example, potatoes. One firm sells potatoes, another firm sells potatoes. This is not quite perfect competition, shall I say, but it's somewhat close to that because actual perfect competition doesn't really exist. I'm going to get into why that is, actually why it's still a fairly important topic. But anyway, another characteristic of perfect competition is you have many sellers and you also have many buyers. And because of the homogeneous goods, there's no product differentiation, so they all compete using price. Interesting enough, so everybody has to follow the price. It keeps going down and down and down until we get to what we call the equilibrium price, or effectively at cost. So if you're in perfect competition, the price keeps getting knocked down until you equal cost, which also includes opportunity costs. So effectively there are no supernormal profits. They're just what we call normal profits or zero profits. So I'll talk more about that in the perfect competition video. Next one I'm going to cover off on is monopolistic competition. So that is a little bit similar to perfect competition, has a lot more real life examples because the goods are no longer homogeneous, they're no longer constant throughout the whole market, they vary a little bit. You've got the same situation where you have many buyers and many sellers, but because the product's different a little bit, they don't necessarily have to compete on price. You can compete on price, and there's going to be quite a bit of price competition pushing the price down, but there's a reason you can have a slightly higher price. Like take, for example, fast food industry. You will see that the prices are similar but not identical because they sell slightly different products. So it's like comparing your KFCs, your McDonald's, your Burger Kings and your Wendy's and all of those. Again, there's a lot of these sort of fast food restaurants, but they're selling similar sort of things but they're slightly different. Another good example is clothes. You know, you have different, we'll talk about one right here in Australia. We have like Big W, Target, Kmart and those sort of places, and they sell coats. Trousers, t-shirts, this t-shirt here. So you find t-shirts very similar in price, but not exactly the same because they are a bit different. You see, I got my Iron Man versus Captain America. sort of a Civil War t-shirt from a few years back. So, yep, so that's another example of monopolistic competition. So similar to perfect competition, but you got price differentiation. How about oligopoly? This is an interesting one. This is going to be one of the market structures I'm not so keen on. Just for the record, I like monopolistic competition in terms of how it functions. I reckon the economy would work a lot better if we had more of that. But anyway, passing on from there. So what is oligopoly? So that's essentially when you have many buyers, just like the other market structures, but you have very few sellers. So you may only have like 5 or 6 sellers that completely dominate the market, and you may have quite a few other little sellers in there, but you're looking at, if these 5 or 6 sellers maybe have like 70%, 80% of the market share, you're looking at something that's more or less like an oligopoly. As you can see here, a good example of that is the television networks. We have CBS, we have Viacom, NBC, and Disney. Disney's a funny one for me. I know they have a massive empire and a lot of people don't like them, but it's kind of hard to get away from some of their movies. Especially now they have Marvel. I watch a lot of the Marvel movies, but yeah, and essentially they are oligopoly because they control such a large share of the market. And there's a lot of negative things that you get out of that because that reduces the amount of competition going on because you have such a few firms. And lack of competition creates certain problems in itself in terms of inefficiency and also in terms of control and stuff along those lines. Next one is monopoly. A lot of people talk about monopolies. It's sort of pretty well known even by the layman, I'd say. Monopoly, one single firm. Normally lots of buyers, but just the one firm. And that's often typically government, in a sense. You have one government agency that has an entire monopoly on a market. It'd be like your defense, for example. They have a monopoly on defending the country, or police force. Or you may have some of your private monopolies, not so common, but you have things, I guess, like Facebook and I don't even call it a monopoly. Microsoft was almost like a monopoly at one point. They're falling kind of into the oligopoly / monopoly with very big firms dominating. So they're not really pure monopolies, but they have a great deal of monopoly power. So it's 1 or 2 firms that are very powerful. Like I said, in theory, it's just the one firm, and we can look at government for that one. Alright, what I'm going to look at now is monopsony. Not so well known, but it's like the reverse of a monopoly. Instead of having the one seller, so instead of having the one seller and the many buyers, you actually have the one buyer and the many sellers. So the most typical example of that is in the labor market, where you have lots and lots of people applying for jobs, but you have only one provider. So that could be like in a town, for example, for a particular occupation that only one business, or maybe it's the government, that are actually offering jobs within that profession. And what happens there is that it gives the advantage to the buyer, the government in this case, if it's in terms of labour, so they can push down the price of labour. So effectively, you see people that are in monopsonies generally not earning as high income as those people that are not in the monopsony. So if there's far more people buying their services, you'd say they'd generally be better off, which is the exact reverse from a monopoly. The last market structure I want to cover on, this is an interesting one. Almost hardly ever really heard of. It's what we call an oligopsony. I think it's still relevant. I think a lot of people just toss that into the monopsony theory, but a lot of it is similar in terms of how price is set and along those sort of lines. But I want to talk about oligopsony because I kind of feel that it's quite relevant to what we have on Steam. You see that we have certain content creators, and a lot of their votes are actually coming from, I call it votes, should we call it? We call it rewards. I think that's a better word for it. So, for example, as we've got here, we've got this person here, Mr. Oligopsio, a fictitious character that I made up. As you can see, this is based on I can't remember even who I based it on now, but I changed their name anyway. I created this slide quite a while back. You can see there's about 3 upvoters, should we call them, that is providing the rewards to this person. I go into a lot more detail in my post. You can see that in the link, and I'll go into a lot more detail when I get to the video. But essentially though, some of the most successful content creators on Steam are relying on just a few upvoters. And that's simply because it's the stake-based system that we have, and a lot of the money is actually tied up, or should we say the stake in Steam is tied up within a few accounts. That's how we create that sort of situation. But oligopsony can exist in the real world outside of Steam. For example, would be book publishing and stuff like that. So there's only a few companies that publish books, but there's lots and lots of authors competing for that. And again, like with Monopsony, it is the buyer that has the advantage and has more control over the price. Alright, so that takes me through my introduction to market structure and the market structures that I'm going to be covering off in this video series. So hopefully you like this video, and if you're interested in knowing more about them, hang in there and wait for the videos, or if you're a little bit eager, jump into those posts where I've got it all written up. But you know, you can read the post, then you can come back once I've got the videos up as well. So yeah, there's a few ways of doing that. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I don't know if it's on DLive, DTube. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on YouTube. I'm sort of turning between DLive and DTube at the moment in terms of where I'm going to put my videos. Because there's problems of trying to upload stuff and all that. But anyway, wherever you might be watching that, remember to follow me, upvote. If you're not on the Steam blockchain, remember to give me a like or subscribe along that. I also have many other videos as well relating to economic theory. I got my vegan stuff, haven't touched much on that recently, but I still have a book that's in the works that's been on hold for like about 6 months now. I've been very busy with a lot of other stuff, but I will be getting back to that. I'll be having more videos on that too, so stay tuned for that. And again, thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll see more of me, and I wish I could see more of you. I'm looking at the camera lens, but hey, thank you.